Your typical podcast.
Thank you for listening to Your Typical Podcast. It's Donnie, and I have Mikey, Cody, Apollo back on the podcast for the third time, I believe. So welcome again. Thank you for always coming.
Thank you for always inviting me.
I think at this point you're the most reoccurring podcast guest host, besides Melinda, I guess. But so you got the crown of most frequent guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
So since you've been on the podcast, I guess we don't need to like belabor like how do we know each other, blah blah. I mean, and Mikey have known each other for the last four, 16 years, 16, I think that's
Ew, yeah.
accurate.
Because that was
Um,
fall of 2010.
10, yeah, and I was 14 years old.
Yeah. And
And
now look
no,
at us.
see,
Now look at us.
now look at us. Me and Mikey have something in common. We both just turned 30 years old. I think you're just shy of a month, and it's been about 2 weeks for me, which is so crazy to say. I'm like 30. Wow. Who would have ever thunk?
I always joked leading up to 30, like, I can't be doing this. I'm 30 years old. And then, like, as we
Mhm,
got, like, actually closer to turning 30, I was like, wait, like, there's so much
mhm.
happening.
Since you've been 30 for a month, how's it been so far? Tell us, like, what does it feel like?
Well, first and foremost, for context, at my actual birthday brunch that I had like with family, like I did a cute little celebration with friends like the week before. Nice little intimate like Mexican food, hookah and coffee at Dream Lab, real cute, real intimate. And then I did brunch with my family, and my birthday was like on a Sunday. I had like a little itty bitty cough building up to my birthday, but I was like, oh, I'm probably just dehydrated. Like, I work at a hospital. Like, I was like, it's fine, just a little cold.
Mhm.
By the end of my birthday brunch, as my parents were taking me back home, not only was I drunk, but I also was like, I lost my voice entirely.
Oh gosh.
And so I was like, this might not be just a little cold. So the first week of 30 was spent in isolation because it turned out I had the flu. I thought I had strep, but when then I had to go to urgent care, which I like never do because I very rarely ever get sick. They were like, we have to test you for the flu. And I was like, I don't think it's the flu, y'all. I think I just have strep. No, influenza A. And so it does feel different. I think I was in my head so deep about turning 30, and then I actually turned 30, and then I had no choice but to still be in my head afterwards.
Mhm.
It feels different, but like in a more like initially it was the pessimism. It was like a fuck, there's so much I haven't done. There's so many goals I haven't completed. I'm out of my prime. Like it was like those kinds of thoughts and feelings. And then afterwards, it was more like this is like a clean slate. And I think
Yeah.
I've been like yearning for a clean slate. And so I'm like, oh, I can. And I mean, yes, you can theoretically start over whenever, right? Like you don't need a new year, the fall, a birthday. But for me, it felt like a really good jumping off point.
Mhm. I totally feel that. I mean, so it's been about 2 weeks for me personally, and I think it's interesting because similar to you, like I feel like there's a lot of apprehension leading up to 30. You're like this is old. Not that 30 is old. Well, that's kind of how it feels to like a young person, like turning 30, it feels like oh my gosh, like I remember when my mom was 30.
Hmm.
So like the fact that like I'm the age that I remember growing up with my mom is kind of crazy. But I will say like the one thing that has been honestly very reassuring for me is like I remember the night I turned like literally midnight when I turned 30, and I actually was on a work trip, so I didn't get home until like 10 p.m. that night, February 6th. And my roommates were like, "Oh, do you want to come out? Do you want to do this?" I'm like, like I do, but I also don't. I'm tired. Like I just want to do nothing. But I remember just like sitting in it like during midnight, and I'm like, wow, I really did it. I'm like, I really like it's so funny, and like I feel like sometimes we take for granted of like the milestone that 30 is, and I think for me it's like I've had like very real life experience that like people don't make it to 30. It's
Yeah.
not like a promise. It's not like a you're not destined to reach 30. So the fact that like I did, I was like, wow, like I feel like this is when life really starts. And I think like But also, like, I think I've been in the mode of like, am I an adult? Am I not? Am I still a child? Because a lot of times, like, you feel like a child. You feel like, okay, like, yeah, I'm an adult, but like, kinda, like, sorta.
Yeah.
But actually, like, I'm like, actually, I think 30 is when you like are actually like an adult and like life should start and all these things. So I think my like feeling is just like gratefulness, like just like, which is an interesting positivity that I didn't necessarily expect. I don't know what I expected, but like the like optimism has been like very surprising. I've surprised myself.
Good. I'm glad that you were able to approach it with gratitude and also be surprised in it. That's also
Hmm.
funny. I
I
also
mean,
did at work after midnight on like the actual like day of my birthday. Took off
like,
for that night,
yay.
but I work third shift. So midnight passed and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, it's a very surreal kind of feeling.
Yeah, you almost have to take off 2 days to
Yeah.
really not be
Because when I'm at
encountered
work,
with.
I'm working yesterday, today, and also tomorrow at the same.
that's that's crazy.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. So obviously, so you said you like went to brunch for your birthday and like you did some things with some friends. When is the big bash?
Have the big bash over the summer because I really want to do a Sinner's Juke joint party. And
Hmm.
I was like, I don't want us in sleet and cold and snow for that. But one of my homies is getting married in July, so I'm like, this might end up being an August affair, to be honest, which is still
Yeah.
fine. But I do want to do like a big celebration.
All right. So for my 30th birthday, I decided to have like a big bash, kind of like what you were saying. So like I said it wasn't a big bash, but obviously kind of like because on my guest list I think I had 105 people RSVP and then 37 people said maybe. Then I also told everyone they could bring whoever they wanted to. So it was kind of a big bash. Honestly, it turned out much more big than like I like because you know people say they're coming, they don't come like last minute, like things happen, which I'm not even that happened. So I was expecting it. But the fact that like that many people came to celebrate me was kind of great.
I mean, you're worthy of celebrating, and it looked like a really good time. Was there a color theme, or were a lot of people
Yeah,
just in red and black? Okay.
I told people to wear red. You're like, all of these pictures, everyone's wearing the same color. Red is my favorite color, so that's kind of why I chose that color. It was like, okay.
I wasn't sure if it also was like a nice tie into Valentine's Day being like a week later.
Hmm. Honestly, it was like convenient, and I did think about it. I was like, okay, because like so. I guess some context. I did throw a birthday party for 29 as well, but it was with other people. So this was the first time like I threw a birthday party just for me by myself, and I actually rented out a bar as well, so it wasn't at my house. So like a little more, I guess, fancy. So then I was kind of trying to think of a theme. And for 29, me and my friends did an all gold theme. Like that was our theme of our party. So like everyone wore gold, which is great. But then I was like, oh fuck, that would have been a great 30th birthday theme. So then I had to come up with something else. And I like thought like, what about like silver? But then I was like, oh, but silver like feels like less than gold, if that makes sense. So it's like we'd
Yeah.
have like a bigger birthday. But then I was like, oh, like maybe I'll do my favorite color, which is red. And then I was like, actually, this is perfect because then it's like also in season and in theme with Valentine's Day and all that. So that just made sense. And honestly, I think three people didn't show up in the color, but everyone else did. So that felt like a win for me.
I'd be so embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, like the fact I literally put in like a text blast, like, and if you're thinking of not wearing red, think again. So the fact that I was able to convince a lot of people to wear either way, I was feeling great about that. And again, like going back to the grateful thing, like I think in that moment, I just felt grateful and like I also have a lot of apprehension slash reservations about mixing so many like friend groups and also like family was there too. So I just like feel nervous about that if that makes sense. But it was like just a very peaceful, chill night. I was out until 5 a.m. It's crazy. I know, wild. Got all of my friends to go to the gay bars, which I guess wasn't like a big feat like they wouldn't, but we just don't normally do it just because it's a little far from where we were. But I was like, this is what I want to do. So we did it and that was great.
That's awesome.
So like I guess like going into 30, like we both kind of just shifted there less than a month ago for both of
Yeah.
us. What do you think actually feels different? Like I feel like we've talked a lot about what we wanted to be different and like what we thought, but like so far from your experience, what actually feels different?
So I know it's like the running gag is that the older you get, the less of a fuck you give. But that was like the one thing that so many people, particularly women that I talked to leading up to 30, because like I said, I had a lot of anxiety around it. And I was like, tell me some things you're looking like that you like have learned since being 30. And nearly every single person was like, you stop giving a fuck. Like you don't care what people think or have to say. And so I don't think I was expecting it that instantly,
Mhm.
but there were things that I was just like, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be, and that's just gonna have to be that. I think it really is a different type of agency when you turn 30, where you really do step into the version of yourself that you're meant to be or ought to be. And so I'm like having fun in that regard of being like, oh, I want to try this thing. Let me just do it because I didn't try it before, or I didn't think to try it before. Like I've been saying I'm gonna start like pole and yoga for years, but now I'm like genuinely excited to like sign up for classes and like do stuff. I also spent much of my life up until this point being a perfectionist, and so that stops me from wanting to try new things. But now I'm also like, again, it's like a mix of life is short. I should try the things, and also a who the fuck cares? Like if I fail, I fail. And that's also been very refreshing to gift myself that, like permission to fuck up.
No, I feel that like 1000%. I actually felt myself literally the same thing, like kind of preparing for that as like I got closer like to 30 where I'm like, okay, what am I not taking in? Like what do I not want to bring with me? Because I know that I'm gonna be at the point where like come 12 o'clock AM, February 7th, I do not give a fuck anymore. Like I am washing my hands of that. So like for me it was I guess this gets a little deep and I haven't talked about it, so surprise everyone. But like I was like dating someone and I decided like that's not what I want to do. So I decided to just like end things. Um I don't even think I told you. So
No, I'm
surprise.
learning real stuff.
Little drop. And I told a few people, but truthfully, I just like kept like racking my brain of like, what do I want? Like, what do? And I feel like I have always been, and this is like 20s Donnie, like probably even since you know me. I think I've like I know that I'm a people pleaser. I feel like I sometimes don't speak my mind until it's too late. Like I feel like I bottle things in, and then like it just kind of like reaches like a reaches the boiling point that if I had sprinkle in like, hey, this happened, I didn't like that, or this happened, I didn't like that. I think I would have probably come to a better conclusion overall, even if it was the same, like end result of like breaking up or ending a friendship. It might have reached the same point, but not so aggressively, or like not so like
Yeah.
it didn't have to explode. And I like just realized the error in my ways of doing that and like I mean, someone literally like said something recently where, like nice people, like being nice doesn't always mean you're a good person. Like being nice means you're thinking like, I'm not gonna say anything for the betterment of myself, but that doesn't necessarily mean the betterment of the other person. Like you're just being nice to be nice when it's like in reality, I want to hold people accountable. I want to be. I feel like being nice and being kind are different because being kind is, Mikey, you're my friend. You hurt my feelings. I'm going to tell you because I care about you. Versus being nice of like, I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to hurt Mikey's feelings, and I feel weird about it now, so I'm gonna distance my like. And I like have been such a person to do that, and like again, I think like most of the time, like stuff like that is trauma. Like you cope with things because of trauma or like how your life has, I mean, like For me, growing up in a big family, conflict has never been an easy thing to address. So I've learned to just kind of swallow it and move on. But coming into 30, I'm like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to like address things head on. And with the relationship, the thing that I just kept thinking about is like for him, he felt 50% in. And like I did like him a lot, and I knew that he liked me, but I could tell that he was only committed to growing with me only halfway, if that makes sense. And like I was like, fuck that. I deserve someone to be 100% in. I don't need someone
Yeah.
to kind of dip their toe in or try to figure out in a little bit if that's what they want. And I was like, I don't need that going into 30 years old. I want a relationship that feels confident. I want a relationship that feels satisfying, and I want a relationship that feels loving. And like being able to tell that someone's barely in it, that's not any of those things. So that was like, I need to cut loose that. So I did that, and it was right before your birthday. So I think it was like January 14th. So literally, I
Okay.
was preparing like 3 weeks before my birthday. I'm like, gotta let that go. And then work wise, which I guess I feel confident to talk about now. I guess then I didn't. But I decided that like I want to hold people around me at work accountable as well. And just like really taking me seriously. And it's like
Yeah.
something that like when you are the only black person, black male who works for your company, a lot of times it gets kind of lost. Like it feels like, it's actually a conversation I had with my boss. Basically, at our company, and I'm talking about this very candidly, so if you're listening, do better. But I think that at our company currently where I work, the route to success or the route to like growing is rooted in subjectivity. And I feel like when things at a corporate work office are subjective, they're often rooted in like white supremacy work culture. So this person might not be getting opportunities because I feel like they don't have enough experience or all these like buzzwords that you're saying, but in reality that's not the standard that is happening to the other people around you, which kind of feels a little racist. Like, and I think like unfortunately for me, and I've been at my company for 5 years and not everything is bad, but I think like for me, I'm like, I'm done like feeling that way, or I'm done feeling ignored or overlooked. And sure, it might still happen, but you're gonna hear about it this time.
Yeah.
So that's been like something that I've been able to find. And like truthfully, I think it sucks from my perspective because I think as a black person in a corporate setting, in a professional setting, the last thing you wanna do would be like, "Hey, look, me, you're over here. Oh, no, you forgot me." Like, "Hey, I'm here too." But at the end of the day, like, if I have to feel bad for being overlooked, I want you to feel bad for doing it. So,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, like, really hold you accountable, like, "No, you skipped over me. What was that about?" So I think finding that voice too is also something, like, I'm taking to 30 and not apologizing for it either, like and also if it ends up, like, being like, wow, you're so combative because you're standing up for yourself, or you said something because we overlooked you. It's like, this is the issue. It's not me. Like, I'm saying I should be treated like everyone else around here. If that is combative to you, again, you are the problem, not me. So that's like something that's been very, I think, new for me. And I had like the conversation I had with my boss was literally like, the same day I broke up with that guy. When I like did like break
I
up.
love that you just woke up and chose violence. Like,
Yeah,
if
but
you want
sometimes
to call self
yeah,
advocacy violence, but you know what I
mm.
mean. Like, just
But
being like,
sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta just kind of put your foot down and like demand change in your life. And like truthfully, like the thing that's been kind of fulfilling for me is like, wow, people move when you demand to be respected, when you demand to be seen, when you demand to be heard. And
Mhm.
that's not something that I've always demanded. So I'm glad to like being able to find that voice. And now, like I said, now that I'm 30, like similar to what you said earlier, I don't give a fuck how you feel about how I think. I'm just gonna say it. Like, let's do it. Like I will stand 10 toes down about myself because I care about myself. And people should respect that, but you also know how it is. So yeah, that's been like something that's been new for me, but feeling good.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that you're stepping into self advocacy. I think that's one of the biggest declarations of self love, like you said, to be like, no, I know how I deserve to be treated or how I should be seen, or just how I should be able to navigate space.
Mhm. And like people don't really, it's funny because like I know, like for me, maybe I would love your comment on this, but like specifically with like microaggressions or like racism in the workplace, I think what I've learned is that like it's this is kind of a tangent too, but I would rather work at a place that is like outwardly racist, like literally like Donna, you're not gonna get ahead here. Sit back, relax, collect the check, go home, leave when you want to, but like this is not your place versus like a place that like pretends that it's family and pretends that like everything is all right, but like behind closed doors, the unintentionalism of like microaggressions or all that stuff just to me feels more hurtful. I'm like, put a sign on your door that says no color. I would love that before I walk into place and like feel comfortable and kind of like get the rug swept from under my feet. And that's what people with work with to a bar, going to anywhere like that. I feel that way. I'm like, I don't want that.
Because it eliminates the ability for you to gaslight yourself afterwards, being like, was it that serious? Is that what that was? Like, because that's just the thing that, like, I mean, this still has to do with being 30, but like, it's just something that like folks with color, I think, always deal with, especially Black folks, where it's just like you don't want to make it a big deal because everyone already is like, everyone's pulling out the race card and like all this jazz, but it's just like, no, I have so much more respect for like I was just having this conversation with someone actually. I was saying how much would I have more respect for like particularly white men who are like vulgarly racist and misogynistic than like white feminists who are like, oh, but we're sisters. But it's just like, no, we're not. Like you just want to be a part of the patriarchy, sis.
And like,
Like
but we're sisters. Yeah.
I don't want you to have a more. I don't want you to make more money than me, sisters.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I 100% agree with you. In the workplace or just anywhere.
Hmm. And like that's like such a candid conversation too. But I also think for me, I've learned the importance to just speak up about it, and which is why I feel comfortable like even talking about it on like a public forum where like my workplace can hear it. And again, like if you do hear it and you get offended by what I'm saying, it's you're I'm speaking to you actually. Like so, if this is you listening. I'm talking to you. But if you are like, wow, we really need to change the things that are happening and how we function as a company or like as a society, then yes, you know what? I'm not talking to you. Like, I'm glad you hear it. You hear my experience. Go do something about it. Like, that's where I am. I know this is kind of a tangent. We'll get back on track. So 30. The one thing that I've been thinking about, and I think this is probably like the most vulnerable part of probably this conversation, would be like the timelines that I feel like people set on you as you get older. So something I've been thinking about is like children, marriage, like all these things. What is like your outlook on them? And I know like being a woman is also different because like not only do you have the metaphorical clock of the world, like being like tick, 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 but like your biological clock as well, like is ticking. So how does that kind of change moving into 30 for you?
So this is the most vulnerable thing for me. So for some context, I've always wanted to get married. Like I've always wanted to be a wife. That's always been like something I've desired. My parents have a very beautiful, happy, healthy marriage, and so I've always aspired for that. For most of my life, I thought I didn't want children. I've written so many poems about it. I am not as like maternal or soft or warm and fuzzy as like my sister, who has loved babies since she was a baby. So last year, I actually was going to like surgically like get my tubes tied because I found out there was a doctor who would do that in Milwaukee even if I hadn't had children already. Had made up my mind, had been thinking on it for a while, and was like, cool. I had met somebody, and in like the first couple of dating this person, I was like, oh, no, like I think I actually do want children just because of how that person talked about like wanting to be a dad and in like past relationships or like past folks I dated, like it always was like hit or miss or like if we do, we do, but like it's just like a level of indifference, I should say. And I think if you want children, you should want them like 200%. That's a conversation for another day. But like after that, like after like dating this person, after like talking with this person, I was like, oh, I think I do want kids actually. And it like fucked me up for a little bit. One, because I was like, I'm about to be 30. I already don't have children. But then two, when me and that person stopped seeing each other, I was like, well, now my timeline is set back. Like, I thought this was someone I was going to be able to build a future with, but now I have to start over. And so it's like, okay, if I want to get married, I want to enjoy being married before I'm somebody's mom. So that's going to take a couple years. And then if I have to meet somebody new, it's going to take a while for me to want to like, make sure this is the person I want to be with forever. So that's going to add to the timeline. And by the time everything happens, I'm going to be 43. And so that has been weighing on me really heavy. I think for lack of a better word, we weren't like together. It was very much a very advanced situationship. But like after the breakup, for lack of better verbiage, like I spiraled really hard because so much of those goals were tied into I'm a woman, I'm about to be 30. And also I was having conversations like with people who for the most part I know were trying to be kind or encouraging, but I had two separate conversations with women at work. The first one I was helping like a coworker with something regarding like how we sign up for like insurance. But she has dependents. And so I was like, your like registration page looks different than mine. So I'm gonna do my best to help you. And she goes, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 29, I'm gonna be 30. And she goes, aren't you what exactly did she say? She said something that made me very upset. Oh, I think she basically was like, aren't you running like or aren't you, like what did she say? I can't remember exactly what she said, but it essentially was just like a you ain't got much time left. And I told her straight up, I was like, that really hurt because literally weeks before this, I had had a separate conversation with her, and she was just like no kids, not being married, like that's fine. And so I was like, so how did we go from that's fine and that's okay to uh, are you gonna do anything about that anytime soon? Um,
Hmm.
and then I had another conversation like in the days leading up to turning 30 with a group of women who I work with. One has been married to like her high school sweetheart, and the other one has children already. And she had her first pregnancy when she was 30. And so I was telling them how I was very worried about that and how I was stressed about it. And all of them were like, it's not that serious. And I was like, of course it's not that serious to you. You already did it. Like you already
Hmm.
are like with your person or you've already had children. Um, so of course to you it's not a big deal. And I know they meant it more in a sense of like a you don't need to have done these things. And I know everyone always is like enjoy being single and enjoy doing this, but I'm just like there's like things I want to do that like you said, like I have like I know women are having children later and later, but I also don't want to be like an old mom. And maybe that's problematic. Maybe that's some internalized shit I gotta work through still. But I always told myself and by always told myself, I mean, within the last year of discovering I want to have children, I don't think I want to have kids after like 35.
Yeah.
And 35 is the age where it's considered a geriatric pregnancy. So I'm just like, that's wild. That's insane. And so it's just been a whole thing. Like that's the area where I feel very behind. Because I'm currently not dating anyone. I don't have a house. I don't have kids. I be struggling to pay my mom on time because she's my landlord, and I'm just like I'm so behind on so many things. Um, but at the same time, I'm also like trying to lean into being grateful for some things because I've seen marriages end. I've seen people have children and then they end up hating the person they had children with, and I'm like, I guess it would be better for me to just wait if it means like it's sustainable and it's right. But it also still kind of sucks. Like it still kind of sucks to be like, well, damn, I don't have like a person, or I'm like, I don't know. Like there's this idea of like, I think when you're a woman like that, like building your life, it's a weird thing. There's one half of the world that's just like you're behind, you're not doing this. Like, what does that say about you and your womanhood? And then there's another half that's just like, enjoy being single, enjoy doing this time, and like, just love yourself and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I self love and romantic love are like they don't fill the same void.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, so it's like really annoying when people are like, just love on yourself. And I'm just like, that's not the issue. The issue isn't that I don't love myself. The issue is I would like to like come home to somebody.
Yeah.
It's not like my two cats. And it's just such a weird space to be in. And I think that's the thing I'm still wrestling with. Like some days I wake up and I'm cool not having either. And then sometimes I'm like, when is this gonna happen for me?
Hmm.
And like a lot of my friends are I think it's pretty split 50-50 of like people either like dating. I only have one friend, I think, that's like married. And we make fun of her all the time. She'll bring up her husband and we'll be like, we get it. You're married.
We understand.
But it's just one of those things where it's just like it is nice being able to um I think just be around other people who are experiencing the same kind of anxieties or the same kind of like fears. One, because it's less lonely, but then two, it also is a reminder of like this isn't like a me thing. Like this isn't like a I fucked up somewhere in the timeline and that's why I don't have either of these things. It's just genuinely is ugly out here.
I think it's very much indicative of our generation too. I think like my mom had kids so young. Like so I think in a way, and I mean I know your mom too, so I would assume she's kind of like this, where my mom she didn't I necessarily encourage me to live my life and not worry about starting a family and everything, but she wanted more for me. Like my mom's been a mom since she was 17 years old. So like she never got to grow up. She never got to be an adult. She never got to wonder, turn 30 and have a party with all of her friends and wear red because there's no kids at home and stay out to like she
Yeah.
never got to do that. So I know that my mom wanted that for me, and I think that's very indicative of like a lot of people my age. Or like I know some. Sorry, I'm yawning, not because of you. We had a very heavy lunch, and I'm like, let's shake it off. But like everyone around me, there's like a good mix of like people in relationships, so not a lot of children at all. And like sometimes, I mean, this is kind of sad, and like I've been saying it because I feel like you'll understand. Like my most serious relationship ever, literally since I've been dating, was the person I dated high school into college. So the fact that like sometimes I even think like, wow, was that my chance that like just didn't happen and now I missed it and the window has passed and because like that was really the only person I ever talked about children with, which is crazy at 18 talking about kids and
Well, I recall
basically
'cause I was supposed to be the surrogate.
I know. I was like, and you were. We literally already thought about it. We're like, Mike is gonna be a surrogate and all these things, and then, like also like basically getting engaged. Like that was something that happened when I was so young, and it's been interesting that from that relationship, I've never really even gotten to that level of like seriousness with anyone else. Damn near 30 and we broke up when I was 18, so 12 years ago. So that's like kind of crazy to like for me to think about because like I guess I don't have the nature biological clock, but like similar to you, I envision myself being a parent at least by 35, like at the most by 35. Like I was like, I don't want to be an older parent. I don't want to be 50-year-old dad picking up my 5-year-old kid from preschool. And like my mom is 55 now and she has grandkids. Like, not, I think maybe somewhere in the middle would be like somewhere where I would want to live. But like also, I think it's important to say like getting married, having kids is not some life hack that just fixes all of the things either. Like one of my friends who I love so much, she got married 2 years ago and was already getting a divorce. So it's like things like that where it's like sometimes your forever person is, no matter if you get married to them, have children with them, if they're not that person, they're not that person. And like similar to you, I would rather not start something like that or get married to someone and get divorced or anything like that. And not saying it's a bad thing, like things happen, life happens, but it's like, am I in a better place? Because you know what, like, yeah, I've never been married, but also I haven't felt that way, which is why I haven't done that, and that's okay. Like, that's kind of the like arguments I keep making in my head of like, this is okay, but is it not? Like, now that I'm not in a relationship, I'm like, when will a serious relationship start? Somebody, I'm like, at this point, I'm gonna be 43 years old by the time things start kicking off. Because like in my
Oh,
head, I'm
yeah.
like, I would want to date someone like for like 5 good years before we even think about getting married. And then honestly, similar, I would love to travel and enjoy being married first, then have kids maybe like a few years later. So that's putting me at a good 37, 38, like at least. And that's if
Yep.
I find someone today.
No, I literally was like, I need to have met my person yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
it's too much. And that's like the weird thing too, is like I've been trying to like I think just extend myself grace. So I was in a serious relationship for almost 5 years for like basically the first half of my 20s, like from 22 to 26, almost 27. I was with the person I thought I was going to marry, and then we broke up, and I was like, oh, I now have to start completely from scratch. Like, I thought we were going to get engaged the year we broke up.
Yeah.
And what's even more insane is I had a conversation with him after the fact, like we had like a debrief on like our relationship, and he was like, "Yeah, I like no shade to him, but also a little shade, but like he was like, I like wasn't really going into this with the idea of like marriage. Like I just like if it happened, it happened." And I was like, "That's actually really crazy to say to me at
Yeah.
this point in the game."
You're a
Because
little
we
late to say this.
Because we had picked a theme, we had looked at venues, we had looked at how you get like wedding certificates out of state or like just like all those things. So I was just like, what do you mean? But sometimes too, I'm just like, was that my window? Like, was that supposed to be it? And then like I goofed somewhere. But then like especially a lot of my girlfriends were like, hey, let's be so for real. You'd be divorced by now. Like if it wasn't meant to be and it didn't work out, like and these things happened, you would be so much unhappier because you'd then be divorced.
Yeah.
They were like, we had to sit with you through regular breakup. We'd hate to sit with you through a divorce. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's legit. But it is something I think about though, where I'm just like, oh, was that
Was
it?
that your opportunity?
And then I don't know. I've also internalized a lot of things too because I've had almost every ex of mine has spun the block except that one. So I was like, what does it say that the person I was with the longest, who I lived with, who like I was building this life with, is the only one who wasn't like, we should try again.
Mhm.
Because then I was like, what does that say about me as a person? And then also I'm like, what does that say if I was with this person for almost 5 years and I still didn't get married? What if I'm with someone now for 5 years and I don't get married? And it's just it's it's not a fun spiral. So like that's
Yeah.
the part of aging I'm having the most trouble with. And I think it's because I know myself. I like know that if I want to do something, I'll go out and do it. I love spending money, so I can spend money on myself no issue. Like what I like am wanting or seeking is like companionship, and I like do the cool shit that I want to do, and my person does all the cool shit they want to do, and then we're just doing cool shit together.
Yeah.
And so it's just really hard because again, when people, you talk about being single, like people always are like, you gotta love yourself and you know, show up when you're not looking and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, stop talking to me. Like,
Yeah.
stop
Cause
speaking to me.
because that's not always the case. Like it's not like I love myself immensely. Like honestly, I love myself so much that I'm not willing to put up with these niggas. This is why I'm single.
And that was something you said earlier too, like when I was talking about like the very serious situationship I was in. Like once like things fizzled out, I was like, I don't have the capacity because his whole thing was just being very avoidant. Like we talked about being in a relationship, we talked about doing all these things together, and then out of the blue, he just kind of was like, "Hey, I want to lead you on," and I was like, "Hello." Like what have we been doing for the last 6 months?
You're like,
Like
that's too late. You've already done that.
for context, 2 days before that conversation, we had exchanged spooky baskets. Like, my nigga, stop fucking playing with me. But again, like that came up, and I was just like, that's time that's now gone. Like that's like I and now I have to reset everything. And also after having that conversation, I was like, I don't have not only like I don't literally have time, but like I metaphorically don't have time for anybody who's uncertain about me either.
Yeah.
Um, and
Period.
I mean that in relationships, in friendships, like just across the board, like I don't have room for uncertainty. Like you gotta like we are now running a strict program over here. Like
Mhm.
I can't be doing
Period.
that.
Yeah, literally the same. Literally, that's how I feel. I'm like, I not a work, not a relationship, not a brother, a sister, a cousin. Like, I don't got time. Like, keep it away. Like, please, like, do not come over here with uncertainty because, like, one thing about me, and I think like we're similar in this way, which I think is why we've been friends for so long. Regardless of like all the like ups and down and drama, I feel like we go so hard. Like we're like put all of our effort into things type of people. And to be honest, like it's interesting because I think people would describe me as a nonchalant person, which like I think on the surface, if you don't know me, yes, like you probably would think that. That's also probably what I want you to think. But like I think ultimately, like don't bring like I don't want like someone who like just feels flippant or like those doesn't care about like what happens. And I'm like, no care. I want you to care a little bit. I want you to like if you lost me tomorrow, not by death, but like because I walked away, like I want you to be like, damn, that's a big loss in my life. So let me step the fuck up. Like I want that. I want that from relationship. I want that from like friendships. Like I don't want to have like friendships where I feel like this is just kind of like surface level, especially like, sure, it's funny that like I think my surface level friendships are more acquaintances. Like we don't
Yeah.
talk that much, and that's fine. I could do that, but like if I'm gonna sit here and call you my friend, I want to be like friend. Like I'm not like trying to bullshit around, and like that means different for everyone. And I think at 30, like, at 22, friendships of like, let's see each other every weekend, let's talk all the time, do all these things. Like at 30, it's like, okay, we can talk here and there. I might hit you up to do a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Um, at the end of the day, it's all literally it was funny because like just so you all know, I text Mikey because I think we talked about this. I text you like, what do you wanna do? Like talk about being 30. And she's like, brunch Tuesday. And I was like, wait, no, no, no. I'm in virtual. But like truthfully, like yes, let's get brunch. Let's like connect. That's been like something that I've really been trying to be intentional about too. Like, I think especially friend groups, I feel like that's like such a sticky scenario because like a lot of times friend groups, you're friends as a group and not as individuals. But like I'm also like trying to put the intentionality of like I don't want to be friends in a friend group if I'm not individually friends with everyone either. So like I've been like going around my friend group being like, let's get dinner. Let's just me and you. I don't want to invite anyone. Like to make sure like I'm putting that effort in person to person. And I want people to do that to me too. Like I want that same energy back. So yeah, like even I don't know if we ever talked about this on the podcast, and I can't remember. I feel like I talked to you about it. But even our friend Johnny, who we were really close friends with growing up, and I don't know your relationship with him currently, but like a year ago maybe I stayed at his house, and it was interesting because we had fallen out pretty I won't say severely, but like pretty no contacty. Like it wasn't like we had this big fight and we argued and all this. It was just like we're not friends. The end. Let's be done. And I know me and you kind of like had coffee with him before we both moved. That was my first time seeing him in a long time. And when I was going to where he lives, I decided to hit him up and be like, hey, like this may be weird and like it's kind of funny because it feels a little usy. And I even said like, if it feels weird, let's not do it. I just thought it'd be a big opportunity for us to catch up. But I was like, hey, I wanted to stay the weekend there. I was wondering if I could stay with you. Like, I think it'll be a good opportunity for us to just hang out and like can do that. And he said yes. And like, I remember feeling very fulfilled by the conversation that we had because like we picked up right where we left off. Like it was no like weird energy or anything. But then we did have lunch one day, and like I just felt like he to bring out like obviously we haven't talked about like us damn near not being friends for like 5 years. And then like one thing that he said to me was like he felt like he needed that space to grow. And like he doesn't know if that would have been afforded to him had we all have stuck so close together. Like we were all like codependent on each other. We honestly probably closer to siblings than like friends. Like that's how
Right.
close we were. So he said all those things to me. And I think ultimately what I gathered is that like it's okay to grow apart from people for a little bit. Like I feel like in life that's like something you don't want to do, but sometimes it's like needed for all parties involved. And the fact that we could come back together and have something, I think says a lot. And I think ultimately, like, those are the type of people I want around me. So, like, I love Johnny immensely. Like, I will always love him immensely. And I'm sure you feel the exact same way. And it's like, as long as we can come back together and move forward. I think that's what like getting older is. Like that's like what it means to do that.
I think too, if you care about somebody, you're willing to put aside your ego and your pride to either admit your fault or just kind of like what he did of being like, I needed that space to grow. Especially too, because just being in your 20s is just messy overall. Like,
Yeah.
and especially with
You're
us,
not
you
perfect.
know, not perfect at all. And also, everybody kind of sucks when they're 19, 20. Like, we're all trying
Yeah.
to figure ourselves out post high school, early adulthood,
Mhm.
outside of routine and expectation, and also proximity. Kind of the thing too. I think for me, like looking at our friendship, like it was built on like so much trust and like other experiences, maybe some small trauma bonding, but like
Mhm.
for the most part, it was this idea of being like, oh, I care about this person, so I'm gonna put in effort in these ways, or admit where I'm wrong, or like apologize. Because even so, like even with us being in different cities, like you still came out for like the book release, like, and didn't you like
Mhm.
drive home that night too? Like just stuff like that, where
Yeah.
I was just like that, like very thoughtful because again, like, you know, we're still trying to figure out like brunch plans, but like I still know that like if I really needed something, like I could hit you up and vice versa.
Yeah. Mhm. No, and I love that. And I again like to like hit home. I did that because I love you, obviously, and I also did it because it meant a lot for me to be there. And it's like I want people around me, and I know you did that same thing for me. Like I'm not releasing a book. I thought I was gonna 30, but that happened 2 weeks ago, maybe 31. But if I
I
did,
mean,
I
you
was
can
like,
still theoretically release it while you're 30.
yeah. But I know if that happened, you'll be front and center. Whether and again, like in whatever capacity you can be. And again, that's just what I need from people and relationships and friendships and home. Like I just need that. And it's like interesting because like I've never been in a place where I feel like I need things from people, but like to have like positive relationships around me, that's what I do need from people. And I don't think I want to apologize for that either. I'm like, no, I need that. Like
Yeah, that's
that's
not
me.
weird to apologize for.
Mhm. All right, so we've been talking for a little bit, so I just want to read this one quote that I found, and I just kind of want to get your like, I guess, initial gut reaction. I obviously we've been talking a lot about being 30 and like what that means and like how life kind of different, basically the same, but like you just bring a different energy. And like I'm sure you've heard a lot, but like people always tell me like 30s is the best years of your life. Like that's where life starts. So I was like looking around and I found like two quotes. So like the first one is they said 30 was the best year of my life until the next year and the next and the next. Every year since 30 has been the best year. Um I guess like what is your reaction to that? Because again, like people older than us often say like life just gets better. It gets better, it gets better. Doesn't do you think it will?
Yeah. I think just based off of what I've seen around me, I would say that that's very much true. So before the age anxiety set in, like at the top of last year when I turned 29, I wasn't scared of turning 30 because so many women around me already were 30, or I had seen them turn 30. And they had leveled up in ways that I don't think they would fully give themselves credit for. But like outside looking in, I was just like, y'all are some bad bitches. Like y'all are killing it. I remember when I worked at UWM as a student, my boss was getting ready to turn 30 and she had a lot of anxiety around it. And then the moment she turned 30, like just everything changed for her. Like she just started doing so much and like came into herself in a different way. And so I look forward to that for me because I've had so many good examples set around me of seeing like just people absolutely like leveling up each year and growing and doing things that they like hadn't imagined for themselves, or maybe they had imagined for themselves and then made real.
Mhm.
So far, if I had to pick, I would say 25 was the best year of my life. And so I'm excited to like bring that energy into this decade. So yeah, that's my
Mhm.
thoughts on the quote. I'm looking forward to being like, and this was the best year, and this was the best year.
Another one. Thank you. Another one. Thank you. That's kind of how I feel too. I honestly think like from our conversation today and just like knowing people who are older, I think I agree with this. I think every year gets better because your perspective is just growing and changing. Like it's like at 20, and I think like when you're young, you just we're still young, but like when you're younger,
Hmm.
everything feels so escalated and like high level and everything is so important and all these things. Like I think we put a lot of pressure when we're younger to like I always say, like when I was in high school, I swear to God, like I think I made every decision as if it was a life or death situation. And I'm like, in reality, it's like, bro, you just choose an apple juice or orange juice. It's not either way, you'll be fine. But I think like going into 30, I'm just shifting my perspective of not everything is a life or death situation, number one. But number two is like the lens I'm viewing things out of like it's not that I'm walking away from someone, it's that I'm walking away from I'm walking away from my sanity. Like that's kind of what like it's sad to part from things, but it's happy for me because tomorrow I'll feel better about this or something like that. And I think that's what I'm taking away and like really I could imagine as you turn 31 or turn 32, 33, you even like shed those like layers of like I mean, going back to what you said later, like the first few minutes, you just don't give a fuck. And I'm so
Hmm.
excited to just give a fuck less and less and less and less and less. So yes. Okay. I'm gonna ask you five questions, rapid fire, first thing that comes to mind. I'll do the same. All
Okay.
right, so number one thing you're too old for at 30.
Um, Uncertainty. Still gonna stand 10 toes down on that.
I'm too old for you not having a car, but you not wanting to like I can't come to you if that makes sense. You can't host, but you don't have a car. What that makes sense. Um,
Hmm.
one thing you're just getting started on.
Ooh, life.
Mm. That's what I was gonna say too. Like happiness.
Mhm.
I'm just unshoveling the first scoop of what this happiness is. A big pile of things I just gotta get to.
I
Um,
love that.
one delusion you're keeping.
Hopeless romantic. Oh, that's staying forever, baby.
Mhm. One delusion I'm keeping the good in everybody. I know it's kind of like naive, but I'm hoping to keep the idea that everybody's intentions are good around me because that's the type of people I'm surrounding myself with.
Hmm.
Um, are we still outside every weekend?
No, I'm clocking in on the week. But when I am outside, I am outside. Not every weekend
Period.
though. But even in my 20s, I wasn't outside.
I am outside every weekend. I'm not going nowhere. And then if you could be 25 again, would you?
Absolutely. Absolutely, in the sense that it was the best year of my life, but if I repeated it, it wouldn't be the same. So actually, no. I'm gonna say no.
I feel similar. I don't think I need to go backwards. I'm just going forward. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Nay.
Your typical podcast.